Nation on this Thursday night. CP the Franchise here with a special edition of the NBA Report, also simulcasting on KnicksFanTV YouTube as well. It is our NBA Draft Q&A, an annual tradition when we break down the top prospects in this draft, the sleeper picks, anyone that you want to talk about, because we have the man of the hour in the building. This guy eats, sleeps, drinks NBA draft 365 days a year. Formerly NBA Draft Junkie, now of the NBA Draft Big Board and Big Board newsletter. Salute to my guy, man, Rafael Barlowe in the building. We got the Stratocaster Alex Rataris on the other side as well. So lock in. This is an interactive show. So call us up with your questions, man. 657-383-1509. Or you can join either the KFTV Discord or the NBA Report Discord as well, man. So lock in. Hit that like button. Hit that thumbs up button for you boys. And here we go. Hey, man. Raphael, how you feeling, bro? Welcome back, man.
I'm doing good. This is what, my third or fourth time on here?
Yeah, so. Maybe 3 or 4, man. Busy time, man. I mean, you know, just talk about the overall journey. Like what's the workload been like for you over the past couple of months?
This year's different. I had a little boy.
Congratulations, man.
On Monday, so
Congrats.
Thanks. It's like my first draft cycle, with a baby. So before I didn't have any kids, so I could just work. So now it's kind of like you got to juggle being like a husband, a father, and all of that stuff. So this year's it's been different for me, and I feel like I've worked a lot. Like I've been super busy, but then there's a part of me that feels like, man, I could be a little bit more productive, but just trying to be a great father, and a great husband, and a great draft analyst at the same time.
Of course, man. Trying to juggle, man. You got Father's Day coming up this Sunday as well. So your first one, right? Or your second one?
Yeah.
It's the first one, right? First one.
No, it's my first one.
Yeah,
it's my first one, and then I'll be on the plane or packing because I'm headed up your way, headed to New York. So, so I'll be celebrating it, packing and traveling with a little one, but I'm looking forward to it.
There we go, man. So let's look into this draft class, man. This year, obviously, Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson kind of headlining, Brandon Miller as well. What's your thoughts on the overall depth of this class, the overall quality of this class compared to years past?
I think it's a good class. I mean, trying to predict how strong or weak a class is, to me, it's kind of tough to say beforehand. Yeah. I mean, think about 2020. Everybody talks about, that class is weak. It's not a strong class. And people didn't think it was a strong class because LaMelo Ball was in Australia. Anthony Edwards played for Georgia. I think Wiseman played like 3 games or something like that. So people thought it was a weak class. But if you look back at it, it actually was a pretty good class. I think we also overanalyzed it because it was COVID. But I mean, we've already had a couple All-Stars from that class, maybe 3 All-Stars from that class off the top of my head, and a few guys that I think are going to get max deals. So I said all that to say this: we just never know what a class is like. Because remember, 2014 was supposed to be crazy with Wiggins and Parker and Embiid, and only, I guess Wiggins has 1 All-Star, but out of those 3, it's Embiid carrying everything. So, but I think it's good. I think with this class, I think teams are going to be able to get their complementary players. I feel like even the worst teams already have their dudes. Like, you look at Detroit, they got Cade and Duren and Ivy. Houston has some talented guys, and Jalen Green and Jabari Smith and Şengün. San Antonio they have some good guys. I think they need like their guy, but I feel like this is a draft where teams can find the complementary players to support their main guys. Like from Orlando, I think this is a good draft for Orlando to get some complementary guys around Paolo and Wagner.
Yeah. Interesting indeed, man. On the top guy, the man that everybody's talking about played his last professional game today over in France, lost in the championship to Monaco, and that is Victor Wembanyama. You had a chance to see Victor when he came over to Las Vegas against G League Ignite, right?
Yeah, and I was there in France the week before, so I saw him play 4 times in a matter of like 7 days.
Wow. So what's your key takeaways here, man? What's your key takeaways when you watch this guy?
So honestly, and I may have told the story before, but my first time watching him live was on my wedding day. So yeah, he got in foul trouble in like the first like 2 or 3 minutes of the game, and I mean my wife is great. Luckily, she wasn't upset about that. It was an experience for her, but it wasn't until she watched the game on ESPN with Scoot. And in her mind, she thinks I was like projecting like way ahead. Like she was like, now I see why you wanted to check him out. But he's gotten a lot better over the last year, like a lot better. Like even if he progressed half of what he has already done, he still probably would have been the #1 pick. But he's added so much to his game. Or you can also say he's had a lot more freedom. But the stuff that he's done, like I saw a play today where he brought the ball up court, passed the ball, caught a backwards alley-oop dunk, and I mean we've seen the ball handling and like there was a play that went viral last week where he brought the ball up court and a smaller guy was trying to pressure him and just kind of getting up under him, and he was able to handle it and then pass it off, post up, shoot a turnaround. So I mean he just has so much to his game, and I think he's going to look a lot better in the NBA. I mean we kind of saw it with the showcase game against the Ignite. Well, I don't think he scored 35 all season, but he had back-to-back games. I want to say it was like 34 and 36 or something like that versus the Ignite. I mean, the longer game, better spacing, and I think he's going to benefit from superstar calls in the NBA, which, in Europe they don't care. They don't care who you are. So I think he's going to be really, really good. I haven't even talked about just the impact on the defensive end. So I think he's going to be good. Now, the expectations are enormous. You know what I mean? Like the best prospect since LeBron James. If you fall short of that, people are going to heavily criticize him. But I think he's going to be great.
What do you make of him not playing in Summer League right now? Do you think he should play? Do you think it makes sense for him to take the time off?
Yeah, it's stupid. It's like with Luka. People thought, oh man, he's running from it. Like I tell people that I went to see Victor play in September, and the showcase game was in October. So if he played in September, and it wasn't like their first game of the season, it was probably like their second or third week. That means their training camp started in like August. So that means that's like 11 straight months of playing. And he played for the national team during the season.
And he's doing World Cup. He's doing the World Cup later this summer as well, from what I've heard on the telecast today.
Yeah, like it's hard for people to understand like how long the European season is. I mean, I put it like this: the NBA season is not as long as the European season, and even though he only played on a team that only played once a week, which so it's not as many games, but it's still like a 10, 11 month season. And because they're not playing, a lot of times those teams in Europe are practicing 2 and 3 times per day because since they're playing once, there's so much importance on each game that coaches overemphasize practicing and the tactical stuff. So, but no, I just think that he should take some time off and rest. Same thing with Luka did a few years back. I know there was a time where Luka hit a wall and people were kind of down on him. And it literally the same situation. Luka got drafted right after the finals. His team ended up winning the finals. And then he ended up using that offseason to rest because he played Eurobasket the summer before. So a friend of mine, he's an international player. And I want to say he was probably like 30. And he had told me because he was so good at such a young age, he never had summers to work on his game. Because every summer you got national team, whether it's U14, U15, you don't get breaks. And so that kind of wears it on your body. I think he was in his early 30s and he was like 18 straight summers for my national team, which is crazy. So it's a long answer, but no. I mean, if he plays in Summer League, he may do one game, but why risk it?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I get
totally understand that.
From the fans, but yeah, why risk it?
Yeah, that's a lot of workload, man. And like, at the average college basketball, they're done in April, March, April.
You're done
March.
in April if your team
April.
goes deep.
Right, if they go deep. If they go deep. So here he is in June. Then he's got to do World Cup. So, yeah, I would have to think that he's going to take some time off. What about the size, man? It doesn't seem like there's much concern with his frame at this point. What do you think about that from a scouting perspective? I mean, 7'5" or whatever he's listed as. Real thin, man. What do you think about, the challenges he might face physically as he gets into the league?
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be some challenges. I think that, for one, I know his agent, and I kind of know a little bit about their plan. They've been preparing for this for a while, but their thing is, we've seen so many guys try to put on weight fast, and they end up messing their body up because they're trying to put on weight too fast. So their plan is to let it be gradual. They even told me that they don't even want him really lifting weights, because they were like, imagine you got an 8-foot wingspan, right? And you're trying to bench press. You know how wide that is? And and they were like, even then that could be bad, just because the bar is not made for somebody with that type of wingspan. So they have a really strategic plan. I saw ESPN kind of broke down he's got to get I think it was 11 hours of sleep a night. I mean, his pre-game routine, I've seen it in person where they're stretching. I mean, stretching his toes out. I mean, they're doing all type of work on his feet. They've been working on his landing for a while. So with all that being said, they are gradually planning on him putting on weight. And so I think that was even one of the reasons why he made the switch from Asvel to the Metropolitans 92. So he could play only one time a week, as opposed to playing multiple times in the EuroLeague and getting banged up and just the physicality. So it's kind of we'll give you a year to continue to work on your body to prepare you for next year. So they have a long-term game plan for him. And I think that, I know at one point he was 7'2", 209 or 210. And I think right now, or last summer, he might have been 240. So it's slow.
Gradual.
It just is not going to look, it's like Durant. Durant is put on weight, but
yeah, sure.
he's naturally going to look thin. So
yeah. I was on with Bobby Marks. I was doing the Ian Begley show earlier, and then Bobby was talking about, says he's fortified with his whole team of physicians and physical therapy, all the things that he needs to get right. It seems like they have him on a real structured program to gradually build up, as you said, when he gets into the league, man.
Yeah, I think more people should follow it. I mean, if you look at the way these contracts are set up, this group with Palo, if it's 3 max contracts, it's $1 billion. So you need to do all of that investing in agents need to invest in their client like that, making sure they're getting sleep. Of course, these guys are kids, so they're probably gonna, want to be kids in a sense, but it's really like $1 billion book of business.
Yeah.
And Victor and his team, they have invested and made the investments to make sure that he reaches that goal.
How do you stack up the league that he played in, the competition he played against? How do you weigh that into your scouting of this player in terms of what's translatable at the next level?
Well, one thing I will say is that he put up great numbers, and he did it without a point guard that could take advantage of him being a vertical lob threat. So if you saw the game against the Ignite, their point guard was Tremont Waters, who's never known as a passer, and he's 5'9", and so once you trap him, he can't make those passes and reads. So, I mean, he was dominant, and we didn't even get a chance to see him with NBA spacing and somebody that could find him on lobs. So, I said I had to say this: the numbers are good, the competition is good. I say it's better than college basketball. I'd say it's probably closer to maybe G League, around that range. It's definitely not EuroLeague. He wasn't playing in the EuroLeague. I know a lot of people think EuroLeague is just one huge league, but it's not. He wasn't in the EuroLeague. So I would say it's probably fair. I put it like this. I think if the Metropolitans played in the G League this year, they would have a better record than the Ignite had. And the Ignite did not have a good record. But their focus isn't on winning. Their focus is just on developing. So it's also a different mindset that goes into each game.
Okay. Well, moving on from Wemby, what are your thoughts about the it's controversial whether he's going to be number 2 or number 3 right now, Scoot Henderson?
I like Scoot. I really like Scoot. But I've been Brandon Miller since January. Miller. I know in January I was like, I would take Brandon Miller number 2, and I took a lot of heat for that. It was like 48 straight hours of people calling me all type of idiots and giving me all type of statistical and deep dives of analytics. And I just think that Miller has the positional size. He's versatile. Even though he had like a historically bad NCAA tournament, he still shot 38% from 3. But before that, he was at 40% from 3 on 7 attempts per game. I think that at Alabama, he did shoot a lot of threes. Didn't really get a chance to show off what I thought was like his bread and butter, which was scoring in the mid-range and out of the mid-post, because that just was frowned upon in Alabama's offense. And another stat that I saw was that he shot like 38% from 3, but very few corner threes. Like I want to say like maybe 90% of his threes came from above the break. So I think the numbers could be even higher if he were like in an NBA system where he got corner threes, where he was playing off someone that could find him. Scoot is good. The thing about Scoot, and I don't want it to sound like, I don't know, it's almost like if you like one, then you're supposed to be anti the other in a sense. It's kind of like they created like this divide.
Yeah.
But here's my thing about Scoot that I feel like has gone unnoticed. He had a really difficult second half of the G League season. But it wasn't as easily accessible as watching Brandon Miller struggle in the NCAA tournament. So I think a lot of people, the only Ignite game they watched was the Wembanyama game.
Yeah.
And if your last impression of him was him scoring 30-something points or how well he played that game, then I could see why you're just like, why is there even a competition? But in the second half of the season, he struggled. I think he really took his foot off the gas. I tried to watch him play 5 times this year, and I only saw one game and like 10 minutes of, I don't even know it was 10 minutes. It was like 5 minutes of the second showcase game. Every other game I saw, I tried to watch him play. He was injured, didn't play. And I just, like, for me as a guy that wants to see guys go out and compete, and I get it, he had nothing to lose. But I think for the guys that played in the G League and for the Ignite, like, what were you playing for? At least I feel like in college basketball, or at least in Vic's situation, you're playing for something. You're playing in this hostile environment, and you can't just shut it down. So here's my question to you guys. If Brandon Miller shut it down during the season, what would we say about him?
Oh, man, he'd be getting torn apart for shutting it down.
Yeah.
It didn't happen with Scoot.
Interesting.
So, I mean, they were talking about Scoot shutting it down in December from the nasal fracture. He did come back and play a few games after that. He had some ankle injuries, which nobody has ever said that they're serious, but he literally shut it down. And I don't think any college player would have been able to do that. Like Nick Smith didn't shut it down, and now his draft stock is falling because people can't see what they can't unsee what they saw out of him. So it's just, I just kind of look at things a little different than most.
Okay, and so then with him not playing, then is it just that you haven't seen him perform enough to justify taking him at 2, or is it just, are you questioning his motor and his dedication?
No, I don't question that. It was just coming from like the media standpoint of it. Like if Brandon Miller shut it down, that he would totally not be in the conversation to go number 2. But I think that could be a reason why there is a conversation that Brandon Miller is number 2.
Gotcha.
Now maybe if Scoot plays the entire G League season and he goes all the way to the end, maybe it's not even a debate.
Okay. And so even with his play in the second half, for the little that you did see of him, what would be some of like the red flags, I guess, that you say, I don't know about Scoot, I'm going Brandon Miller in this case?
Well, one, Scoot's shooting to me really didn't improve especially as a 3-point shooter. He started off the season, he was phenomenal. I think he had like 25 points in like 5 of his first 6 games. But the shooting is still a little bit concerning, not a major concern, because I think that if you compare him to all the other great athlete guards, whether it's Westbrook to Ja Morant to Derrick Rose, maybe Steve Francis, all those guys, I think that he is better, or if not equal, as a shooter to all of those guys at the same stage. And from everything I've heard, the work ethic is great. So, I mean, he'll be fine. Now, he does have big hands. Like, he does have really big hands. And sometimes guys that have really big hands, outside of Michael Jordan, of course, and maybe like Chris Webber, kind of struggle with shooting a little bit. Kawhi Leonard is another example. But there have been times where guys just have really big hands. It kind of messes with their touch a little bit. And sometimes I kind of saw that with Scoot, like finishing around the rim. I would think that he'd be a great finisher around the rim, and he wasn't a really good finisher around like non-dunk finishes. So the concern would be the shooting, and the concern would also be the fit. And when I say fit, I thought he was like the biggest loser the way the lottery results turned out, because outside of San Antonio, I don't know what other team that gave him like the clear-cut keys to the franchise. I mean, there's a trade that could happen where he could end up being that guy. But like in Charlotte, if he has to play with LaMelo, I don't know how they're going to coexist. I don't know how he coexists in Portland with Dame and Ant and all that. So I think like if you take the ball out of his hands, then you kind of, I mean, you don't maximize his strength. So I think for Brandon Miller, I think he fits alongside any player easily. You can put him in any situation and he can fit, and he also offers versatility where you can probably play him at the 4 and some small lineups to close the game, the 3, maybe the 2 and some jumbo lineups. And so that's kind of my reason why I give Brandon the edge.
Sounds like Raphael's just trying to make sure his Portland Trailblazers get Brandon Miller over here.
No, I don't even think that's happening. And sadly, even if they get him, I think that Portland's going to make a trade anyway.
Yeah, let's talk trades, man. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for your boys. We are live on the NBA Report and also simulcasting on KFTV. If you guys have questions for Raphael, get in contact now, man. This is the busiest man in sports right now. 657-383-1509. Or you could hit us up on either the NBA Report Discord or the KFTV Discord. Yeah, speaking of trades, man, let's go to number 2 because it said that the Pelicans might be interested in jumping up there to get Scoot Henderson. What have you heard on that front?
Yeah, I've heard they're dangling Zion. I heard that situation is just not really good right now.
What is going on, man?
KnicksFanTV has a huge audience, and I'm kind of worried about getting aggregated.
Hey, this is what we're here for. We got to get the people what they want to hear, man.
Yeah, but sometimes when it gets aggregated, it's just
look, man. Here or NBA there. Central's waiting, man.
Yeah,
they're ready
NBA
to write
Central's
that
waiting, man.
Man. Like I can't even check my Twitter. I got like a gazillion messages from what they posted yesterday, and in the article I said that somebody had mentioned to me that the Rockets could be, involved in Zion, but I was just like, I thought it was absurd, but NBA Central is just like the Houston Rockets are interested in Zion Williamson per Barlowe 500. I mean, I can't lie. I looked at it at one point, and the jokes about Zion, Ime, and Harden, and
they write themselves, right? The jokes just write themselves, man.
But I mean, last I looked, it was like at 4 million views, or 4 million, something like that. And so I can't even look at my messages because it's just all the comments. But no, I mean, I just heard that they'd be willing to move him. Like one executive from an NBA team told me that the Pelicans made the play-in game last year without Zion playing at all, and that's with Brandon Ingram being hurt. They like what they have. They don't know if they can depend on him long term. There may be some concerns about some off-the-court stuff and lifestyle. Is that contributing to him not playing? And then it's just kind of ironic that literally days after I hear that, that's when all this stuff is going around, and so Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
and so another person that mentioned to me that Charlotte probably would be interested in the deal. I mean, Zion went to Duke. Jordan is trying to sell the team. You know, maybe the hype of Zion and LaMelo Ball could generate some buzz and interest there. You know, maybe you add another 100 million to the sell of the team because, you know, if Zion is healthy at the beginning of the year and there's some excitement there, and then, you know, you can sell. So they said Jordan could be motivated by that. Which on one hand, you're like, what does Jordan need another $100 million for?
Right.
Like, and so and then, you know, maybe for a team like Charlotte, you feel like, well, we can't get a Zion in free agency. If we make a trade for him now, we can get him. We know what he's capable of. We just gotta hope that, you know, he can stay healthy, or maybe he didn't like New Orleans, which has kind of been a rumor since, you know, everybody thought he was going to the Knicks.
Yeah.
So I could see how on that hand that there would be some interest there. And then it came out today that Teresa Weatherspoon was released.
Yes.
And for everything I've heard, they were like really, really close. Not saying that is related at all, but I heard that they were close, and she was kind of like his personal coach in a sense. So there could be some smoke there.
I mean, you don't release someone's favorite coach if they're considered like a, you know, top priority for the organization.
Right.
It's kind of a big deal.
Yep. And then, I mean, I've heard other people say that, you know, the lady that owns the Pelicans is a woman, and, you know, she's probably seen all the stuff that we've seen too. And that could like have a potential impact. And I mean, I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone on draft day.
Wow. There you hear it. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Barlowe 500 with the Barlowe bomb. You know what I'm saying? Move over.
I didn't make it up. I mean, it's out there.
Don't worry. NBA Central, Rafael Barlowe on KnicksFanTV said Zion will probably be traded on draft day.
I just think it's interesting, man. They didn't seem like they really gave him a good vote of confidence in their exit interviews. And David Griffin, I think one of the comments that struck me was like, when he was asked about like, you know, Zion and his future with the team, David Griffin was kind of like, well, it's up to him. And that was like, you know what I mean? And I think I think they soured on the fact that he didn't play in the playing game. You know, CJ McCollum was playing through a bum shoulder, and these guys are scrapping. Sorry?
The first year? In 2020? Or no, or did he play?
Last year.
He was out of shape the first year.
He was out of shape the first year.
2020. Then last year, you know,
he had the hamstring
happened in Portland away from the team. That you know, that doesn't sound positive. And then, this year, I mean, did you see the joke where I mean, it's kind of maybe like a distasteful joke in a sense, but the guy for the Bills, they were like, he's back out on the field playing.
Right. And Zion still can't get right. My man DeMar Hamlin went to the upper room and came back, and he's ready for training camp. That's just bizarre. That's a whole nother subject for another day. I can't even believe my man will put himself back out there like that. But hey, to each his own.
It might be the clone though.
It might be the clone. Good Lord.
Oh man.
Good Lord, man. I blame the education system. Yeah, we are down bad in this country, boy.
This show is really good.
Yeah. The Blazers.
Yeah.
Number 3 pick. The whole Dame situation. Is he staying? Is he going? That's your team, man. Number 3 pick.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think happens by draft day? So many potentially moving parts.
Yeah, I think he's staying. If I were a betting man, if Brandon Miller goes too, they probably got a deal in place for Scoot. I mean, there's even if it's like the Wizards, right? And I don't know how they can make the money work. I haven't thought about that, but I'm sure the Wizards, and I imagine they're going to do a full rebuild. We'll give you Bill and whatever. Well, I guess you'd have to take on some bad contracts from Portland to make the deal work, because Bill is making $1 gazillion. But I think that for Portland, you get a guy like Bill or Siakam or somebody else that kind of fits Dame's timeline. And then I imagine like Scoot's team would be welcoming that, because if you're Portland and if Dame says he wants to stay, which, I believe that's the case. If you're Portland, all right, do you tell Ant Simons, who averaged like 24 a game in the second half of the season, well, Ant, you're the sixth man now.
Right.
We got this Scoot Henderson kid. I know he hasn't played a game yet,
right,
but we think he could be this. And then I think that can mess up your whole chemistry. And then you got three. So I imagine if Brandon Miller goes to Portland, probably has something in place to where Scoot can go to a team where he can have the keys to the franchise and Portland can get somebody that is win now. But I just can't see a situation where they go to training camp with Dame, Simons, and Scoot.
Speaking also on trades, Indiana has 3 first-round picks. Have you heard anything? It seems like they will get the power forward that they're looking for with number 7, either Hendricks or Walker. Number one, do you see them taking either one of those guys? And number 2, do you see them potentially trading one of those lower-end first-round picks to kind of consolidate?
Yeah, I've heard that they are going to be active. I think they have 4 picks in the first 32. So I think that the 32nd pick is there. I can't imagine them bringing four rookies into camp. I have heard that they are looking to consolidate those picks. The only thing is, like, all right, like who is their biggest asset that they can trade? Is it Miles Turner? And I could see maybe a Miles Turner trade for a team that's looking to win now. But that team would have to have, a pick or another young player that fits the timeline. So, I mean, Dallas kind of makes sense. If you trade Miles Turner to the Mavericks, then you get the 10th pick, but then that means they would have, 6, 10. And I mean, I can't imagine them you trading Miles Turner and a first-round pick to Dallas. So then I don't know, but I definitely think that they are a team that I could see trying to move up, maybe back into the back half of the lottery and select the wing or forward, because I mean they're set in the backcourt. It's just they need help at the forward spot, and I think they'll get one of them at 6, which I think they're going to take Jarris Walker.
Now the Knicks, they've sent people to the combine. They're working guys out. And you run
by the entire staff at the combine.
the whole team was there.
I mean, it's like my first year was last year. It's just randomly, like where I was sitting, it's just the whole Knicks. I mean, it's like this whole section from the first row up. It's just Knicks guys. I mean, they're spread out, but yeah. I mean, they weren't there just to
hang out, right? They weren't there just for the coffee, man. Well, yeah. What do you think, man? Do you think they trade back into the first round or maybe second round potentially?
I don't know. I don't know if they trade back into the first round. I mean, I haven't paid too much attention to it, but I've seen rumors that quickly there's some interest from other teams there. I think the Knicks are just in a weird situation because Randall's productive, but it just doesn't seem like the fan base is all the way in on him.
Yeah, they want to send him packing, man.
Yeah. Hey, I had a deal for y'all 2 years ago.
Yeah. We talk about this every draft show every year.
I had a deal for y'all 2 years ago. And I do think sometimes the fan base can influence the front office in a sense because, I mean, these are your paying customers. And so if they're off a guy, it makes it hard for the guy to move around the city. But I think it's a weird situation because of the previous ties to Leon Rose and CA. I think that kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. But then at the same time, he's been good for the Knicks in the regular season. Then he was playing hurt. I don't know. I mean, maybe they dangle Toppin. I don't know what value you can get for Toppin. I can't imagine it's the same value you would have had a couple years ago. But then he hasn't really been able to showcase, what all he can do because he's playing behind Randall.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't even like. What position do you think they need, or what player
they need a wing bad, bro.
But I'm like, what wing could come in and crack their rotation and really make an impact. Like,
Yeah. Well,
unless it's early.
Yeah. Well, what do you think in let's say like the mid to late first round? Are there any wings that you feel like could come in and make an impact? Is there a Jalen Williams in that slot? In that group there. I can't understand how teams passed on him. I can't understand how the Knicks passed on him last year. Is there an impact wing in say the back at 15 to 25?
Yes and no. On one hand, I heard a team executive tell me, he was like, we're looking for wings, but every team is looking for wings. And he said the problem is if you get a wing that can shoot, he can't defend, which means if you're trying to make the playoffs, now that wing is unplayable. And then he said now there are wings that can defend, but they can't shoot. And so he was like, a lot of teams are trying to compete now. And do you have time to wait 2 to 3 years for that wing that can't shoot but can defend to be productive? So it's an interesting dilemma that I guess is going to be up to teams to figure out, like, all right, which one can either defend now and is closer to being able to help us shoot. And I think maybe Jordan Hawkins may provide like maybe the most balance there.
Where's he from? Tell us a little bit about Jordan Hawkins.
UConn, won a championship, arguably the best shooter in the class, especially when you factor in degree of difficulty. I mean, he's an excellent movement shooter. He's that guy that can run off pin downs. I mean, think of like your JJ Redicks, your Kyle Korvers, your Rip Hamiltons with range. He's that type of movement shooter. And I think if you factor in degree of difficulty, you can make a case and say he is the best shooter in this class, because it's not like he's just catching and shooting standstill threes. I mean, he's flying off screens. I mean, he has the championship pedigree, but I think you'd have to move up to late lottery in between 14 through 20 to snag him. So I don't know what they would give up there. Jet Howard is interesting. Jet Howard is Juwan's son, for those that don't know. 6'8", like 215, good shooter, great body, has some flashes of being able to create his own shot. The problem is he's 6'8", I'm 5'7". He only averaged 3.4 more rebounds than me. So, and then like there's some people that just wonder like how tough he is. And I could just be a lazy comparison because they knew that he grew up with with money and so on. I think sometimes you lump a kid whose dad was a pro athlete that lived in a mansion that he may not be tough. So that could just be, a lazy comparison there. But he was not a good defender and not really an active rebounder. And so I think that is concerning to some teams. I think if he was just like an average defender, I mean, he'd be a top 10 pick. Then there's Maxwell Lewis, who I think can really shoot the ball. And I had a chance to watch him work out in Chicago. I think he can really help a team. But the concern around him is that he went to Pepperdine and they just did not win. I mean, they were one of the worst teams. I don't even think in his 2 years there they won 20 games. I had the number in my head a few weeks back. So, and I talked to him about it, and he's like, everybody knows he can score and how talented he is. But for him, the hard part is shedding the label as a guy that put up numbers on a bad team. But he's someone that I think could be available anywhere between 15 through 20. And if I'm the Knicks, and if I can get him, I'd be very pleased with my draft, because he can shoot, he can create his own shot, he's athletic. I mean, there's a lot of things that he can do on the basketball court. It's just the concern is, hey, you went to Pepperdine. They were awful. Like, why weren't you winning?
Interesting, man. Now, who do you see as this year's, that non-Wembanyama, non-Miller, non-Henderson, the guy that's rising up the boards? A couple years ago was Pat Williams. Last year was Dyson Daniels was that hot name. Who's that hot name this year?
So in the lottery range, it's without a doubt Bilal Coulibaly. Coulibaly, Victor Wembanyama's teammate. Honestly, I haven't seen anybody have like the trajectory that he's had over the last 18 months. I first saw him in Paris in January 2022, and it was like a JV game. So in Europe, in France, they have the senior team plays, and then at like maybe 8 o'clock, and then like 5 o'clock, it's called the Espoirs, the under 21 team plays. And it's like teenagers, it's literally like going to a high school game. It's free, and it's nothing but teenagers there. It's a cool atmosphere because it's like going to a high school game. So I saw him. I just was impressed with the way he moved and how fluid and coordinated he was, and just the length. But I remember sitting there with Mike Schmitz, who's now at ESPN, and we were like, "Who's this kid?" So we're like, when you're overseas, you don't have the best service. We're like on our phones trying to go to Eurobasket and get a name. And we talked about him briefly, but I mean, he didn't like blow us away. And then he had an okay summer, but I say a good summer with the French national team last year. But he only averaged like 7 points a game, if I'm not mistaken. So it wasn't like he was just blowing you away. And then in September last year, I went to go watch him play. I put it like this. I went to watch Vic play.
Yeah. Right.
I know I love this stuff and I'll travel, but I'm not going to say that I flew to France to watch a under 21 league game. So I flew to watch Vic play, but I went to that game and he was impressive. He was blocking shots. I mean, as a wing shot blocker, he was making passes. He was finishing. I saw all the tools, but in my mind, I'm thinking like, 2024, he's going to be one of the top international players in the 2024 draft. And I don't think anybody remembers him playing in that Wembanyama Scoot showcase. Like he played. I mean, he looked like a fish out of water. But fortunately for him, there were some injuries where he was forced to play. And once he got playing time, you could just see his confidence rise. And then during the finals, I mean, they were trusting him to make decisions with the ball. Like he is an impressive athlete, but it's like he's so fluid and coordinated. And I mean, he's explosive, but his game isn't really just built off of him being like this hyperactive, explosive athlete. It just, I mean, everything it's just how smooth and coordinated he is. And he can do a little bit of everything from passing. He defends. He's got like a 7'2" wingspan. He makes hustle plays. Last I looked, he was shooting 38% from three, but it's on a low volume of attempts. Now the free throw percentage is kind of in the 60s. So you got to figure he's somewhere in the middle between a 38% 3-point shooter and 60% foul shooter. But I think the touch is there. And the role that he's playing for the Metropolitan, or was playing since their season is over, is very similar to the role that he would play if you put him on an NBA team right now. A guy that is going to score off hustle plays, energy plays, transition, switching out, defending all over the floor. And he's only 18 years old, doesn't turn 19 until July 26th. And the only reason I know that is because that's my birthday.
There you go. There you go, man. Happy birthday indeed, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CP the Franchise, Alex Shotaro, special guest Rafael Barlowe. The NBA Big Board is in the building, answering your NBA draft questions, man. If you got a prospect you want to talk about, drop them in the chat or call us up, 657-383-1509, or you can hit us on the Discord. We have a KFTV Discord and also the NBA Report Discord. Fellas, remember Father's Day is coming up this Sunday, man. And get your dad the #1 men's grooming tool below the waist. Your mom will be happy about it, man. Get him the Lawnmower 4.0 from Manscaped. Like I said, this is the #1 men's grooming tool below the waist, man. Shout out to our friends at Manscaped for sponsoring us and supporting the show over the years. And you could also check out not just the Lawnmower 4.0, but the Performance Package 4.0, where you'll get the shampoo, the body wash, the conditioner, the ball deodorant. You get a travel bag, all that great stuff, all that great swag. And use our promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. They have a number of great products for today's man. So take care of your dad for Father's Day, man. Get him a gift from Manscaped. Once again, manscaped.com, promo code KFTV for 20% off plus free shipping. Okay. All right, Raphael, I got a couple of names in the chat there. A couple of names. Give me a second here. Let me scroll up so to everybody in the chat. G.G. Jackson. It was said that he's worked out with the Knicks. But I'm hearing varying things about this guy, man. What do you think about G.G. Jackson?
I'm probably like the leader of Gigi's fan club.
Mm.
I'm looking at his schedule right now. Like, I didn't know he worked out for the Knicks. Like, I have his workout schedule.
Yeah.
They must have snuck that one in on me.
Yeah, I saw something. Let me pull it up. I saw something that that he met with the Knicks. Hang on a second.
Maybe at the combine, but
it could have been.
I literally just talked to his people like right before this call. They didn't mention the Knicks.
Okay.
He might have one upcoming for the Knicks, but I know where he's at like right now. But you know.
Yeah. So what do you think about him?
I think Gigi is a top 10 talent in this draft. I think that if he didn't reclassify, because he's only 18 now, and he was the top player in his high school class. I think if he didn't reclassify, he's the number one pick in the 2024 draft.
Wow.
Reclassified up, which, it's had mixed results. You look at, it worked for Shaedon Sharpe, but he took a very unconventional route by just like not playing. Worked for him. It worked for Jalen Duren. He ended up being the 13th pick, and I know some Knicks fans are still upset about that whole situation. It didn't work for Emoni Bates, and we'll see how it works for Gigi next week. But talent-wise, he's 6'9", can handle the ball. I got a chance to know him a little bit this summer. He did his pre-draft stuff in Dallas. Really, really talented kid. The fit at South Carolina just wasn't the best. I mean, he wasn't. It's kind of like what team throws a 17? He was 17 when the season started. A 17-year-old, and he's like basically the go-to guy in the SEC. And so I think that played a role in his efficiency. I mean, the biggest concern with him is just the maturity. Like he's really young, and I mean, you're taking a kid that basically skipped a step. And I just feel like in this process, it's hard to skip steps. Instead of preparing for the prom, he was preparing for the NBA draft. And sometimes that year between 17 and 18 is a big developmental year. And I think that for him, he just, the maturity is the biggest concern. And I've talked to like different teams that had him work out, and everybody loves the talent. They're just concerned, like, man, can we put the kid in our locker room? And Gigi went to college in his hometown, so he has never left home before. So, just from a real world standpoint, like think about when you were 18. Could you go from your junior year of high school to college in your hometown, which is really like basically you're living at home, to a millionaire living in like New York or Atlanta, Miami, and all of that? So
it's a major jump.
It's a huge jump. So I think that's just the biggest concern. And then like he did some things this year where like just stuff that you would do when you're a kid. He would get on IG Live and just be talking like it's me and you, saying like, "Hey, they coach not running no plays for me."
Get up, man.
Yeah, the talent is there.
Yeah.
I think he has the widest draft range. I put it like that. I think his draft range is really wide. Like I said, I've seen his workout schedule, and all the teams that I'm looking at here, maybe like 8 of the 10 teams are all lottery teams. But then again, those same teams have picks like early in the second round also. So, I mean, if he goes like 14 to New Orleans, and this is like if they keep all their picks, that wouldn't surprise me. But if he goes like 31 to, I think Detroit has the first pick in the second round, that wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah, and we saw what happened with Josh Primo with San Antonio. Teams might be a little bit leery, picking a super young kid with maturity issues. So we'll see where he lands there. How about?
I wanted to add on to that. The crazy thing, Josh Primo had like no maturity issues coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, even like Ja and Zion. So I think teams are really probably more worried about that. And then for Gigi, it doesn't help him that he's from South Carolina.
Right. They down bad right now. We'll see what happens with Ja Morant. Maybe we get some news on Friday. Maybe they try to throw it out there and sweep it under the rug. Usually, organizations do that on a Friday to try to make the news a little.
Stern, right?
Yeah.
Not Stern. This is on Silver.
Silver. So we'll see what happens there. Grady Dick, mock draft. One mock draft has him going to Dallas at 10. What do you think about the Kansas wing, Grady Dick?
Yeah. So I'll say this now. I have to really get my thoughts together before I say his name because I definitely don't want to be aggregated, because you can be like, blank is, I mean, he's long, he's a good athlete,
Yeah.
shoots it. So,
I mean, you'll catch the pause on this show, so don't worry.
Yes.
yeah. So I just say Grady is, he's one of the best shooters in this class. Some may say Jordan Hawkins. If you disagree with Jordan Hawkins, then Grady Dick is probably the guy that you like the best. I mean, he's a better athlete than what he gets credit for. I know he didn't test very well at the combine, but I think he's the functional athlete, and he has what teams covet: this positional size, and he can knock down open shots. And so there are teams that really need shooting. I just talked to somebody earlier today, and they were like, Toronto's a team that, even though they have a bunch of wings, they don't have a knockdown shooter at the wing other than Gary Trent, and they think that he could be gone.
He's gone, yeah.
And then Orlando was one of the worst three-point shooting teams. And I think Grady is a guy that can be a complementary piece to, what Paolo's doing. And I think Dallas has some interest, but Dallas needs defenders.
Yeah.
So it's like if they take him, that means they're just really doubling down and going all in on offense. And the biggest knock on Grady is his defense. And like I said earlier, the scouts I've talked to are like, man, if a guy can shoot, he can't defend. If he can defend, he can't shoot. So, but I think Grady is definitely going to end up in the lottery.
Okay. Another prospect here, Sidy Cissoko from the G League.
Yeah, Sidy's a French prospect that, I think there could be, is it 4? Yeah, 4 French prospects.
Wow.
And I know Knicks and French prospects.
Don't mix. We don't mix, boy.
It doesn't mix. So I'm not.
Shout out to Frank, though.
Luckily, Frank was the guy. Weiss or whatever.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm not projecting any French prospects to the Knicks on my mock draft, so I can talk freely about French guys in this episode. But no, Sidy is a guy that when he was playing in Spain, he's French, but he played in Spain prior to coming over to the States. He was a point guard, so he's 6'7", has good size, good passer. Didn't get a chance to really show his ball handling. I shouldn't say that. He didn't get a chance to just show his game as a primary ball handler. Played more of a connective role for the Ignite this year. But one of the things I like about Sidy is that he's grown as a player. My knock on him prior to this season, even maybe halfway through the season, was he's got this great body. He's a good athlete, but he's got that. He's missing that dog, right? That competitive fire to where if he has a mismatch on him, he kind of settles. And just from my theory, this is just a Rafael Barlowe theory about French prospects. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and lay it out here.
All right.
They have the same athleticism as American guys, but growing up in Europe, they're always taught to play the right way. And I think based off of evaluators, I think they get knocked if they start playing too much like Americans. And so, in America, whether it's pick up ball, whatever, if there's a guy that can't guard you, you just go and attack, or maybe even run that play over and over again. And I think if you're a young French prospect and you have these athletic advantages over these other European countries, if you start attacking, they're going to label you as oh man, he's playing like an American, he's playing selfish, and so on. So I said all to say this. I feel like Sidy was one of those guys that even when he had mismatches, he didn't aggressively attack. If he scored 2 or 3 times on a guy, maybe the next play, instead of attacking him again, he'd make the right extra pass and so on. Well, he was doing that at the beginning of the season, and then I don't know what got into him, but second half of the season, if he had a slow big on the screen, he was coming down the lane, he was dunking to the point where he wasn't playing aggressive all season long, but he finished second in the G League out of all the wings in dunks. And so he was dunking. If you go to his film, he's dunking. They had him hanging on the rim. Somebody on the Ignite put that battery in his back and he turned the corner. And so I think that if he carries that same momentum and that same aggressiveness, then I think he could end up being really, really good.
What do you?
Yeah, go ahead.
You got follow?
No. Go ahead.
What do you think about Cam Whitmore out of Villanova?
Cam's gonna be good. He's really good. Young, still 18, I believe. You know, Villanova's had a history of turning out guys that are really, really good. Even though he didn't play for Jay Wright.
Yeah, we got 2 on the Knicks.
We got 2 on the Knicks. Hey, I'm a Blazers fan, and y'all ripped us off.
You don't like Cam. You get the other Cam. You guys got the other Cam.
Who? I've fool's gold. And Knicks love him.
Oh man, we love everybody, man. That's the problem. So yeah.
I don't get it. Like,
yeah,
they loved him, but there's some other guys that they don't like. But hey, I've been saying I put it like this. I was off the Cam Reddish train, and this is how I can relate to the Knicks. So it was 2017. I went to like the under 19s in Egypt. Team USA played Team Canada. So I'm like, okay, Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett. These are like the 2 top guys in this class. RJ gave him like 37. Cam was like, I don't know, 3 for 11, and like 8 of his shots were threes. After that, I was like, man, I'm done. He's full of gold. And so every team that he gets traded to, the fans are blaming. But anyway. Sorry, I went on a tangent.
No, it's
You're the second draft analyst.
Pick, though.
You're the second draft analyst to go. We had Corey Tullow gave us the same spiel too. So
yeah. So, so Cam Whitmore is a Villanova guy, but a one and done. Like, he's the first one and done Villanova guy since Tim Thomas, and that was 25 years ago.
Yeah. Tim Thomas,
again, he didn't play for Jay Wright, so things are kind of a little bit different. But I mean, he's built like a grown man at 18. He can handle. He can shoot. He is aggressive driver. So I was kind of off on him at one point during the season because there was a game against Creighton I saw where it was probably, I don't know, maybe like 5 minutes left in the game when I turned on, and he didn't like take a single shot. He wasn't aggressive. He was kind of, I don't know, he was very passive. And so, in my mind, I'm like, I'm taking the guy top 5 that is kind of running from the moment. But, maybe I was just overanalyzing, but that is something to kind of keep in the back of my head. But I also feel like no matter where he goes, he's not going to have to be the guy. Like, if he goes to Detroit at 5, he's just going to have to fill a role. So if it's Houston at 4, which I would do if I'm Houston, especially if I'm bringing Harden back, I'm not putting Harden with the Thompson twins. Yeah. But anyway, if he's in Houston and he has a role to fill, knock down open shots, run the lane, attack closeouts, and I think he'd be really, really good at that role. But I think that he could be a weapon for like a creative coach because he's so physically strong. He actually reminds me of Miles Bridges in a sense as far as like the build. I think he's a little bit better as far as creating off the dribble and create his own shot than Miles was at the same stage in his career. But he's the guy that you can like probably play as a small ball 4 and run like a pick and roll, pick and pop, and he gets downhill, and once he gets to his launching pad, he's tough to stop. The biggest concern is, and it's not a big concern for me, is that he just is not much of a passer or a playmaker. If he gets the ball, it's going up. But it's not that big of a concern because wherever he goes, I don't expect him to be their franchise guy anyway. So, but I like him. I like him a lot. Only 18, so he has he definitely has a high upside.
What team do you think would be good fit for him?
If Houston brings back Harden, then I would take him at number 4.
Outside of Houston bringing Harden back, what other teams would be out there?
Really, all of them. Detroit.
Okay.
He would fit there. What Troy Weaver is doing. They're looking for like really athletic players, and that's one thing that he's done since he's got there is improve the overall athleticism of the team. And Cade is a good athlete, not considered a great athlete, but he surrounded him with really good athletes like Duren and Ivy. So Bagley, and even though they got like too many bigs, but he would fit there. Indiana needs help at the forward spot, and I think he fits their timeline. You play with a guy like Halliburton, who's going to get you open looks and find you cutting. Orlando probably wouldn't be a good fit because there's a lot of redundancy there. I mean, Washington, I think they're going to do a total rebuild. So I think who's ever the best player available, they'll take and get plenty of room to develop. So I think he fits in. Even like Charlotte with a trade back, I think he fits in with most teams. He has a pretty scalable game and role.
Okay. Another player that I got is Anthony Black. What are your thoughts about him?
Yeah, Dallas kid. It's funny. 2015, I was a videographer and filming little kids, and didn't realize that like 4 or 5 of these guys in this draft class were kids that I were filming when they were young basketball players.
No way.
Yes. And actually, the team that I was filming for was Casey Wallace's team. And so when I go back and look at my film, and I'm like, that's it's just, they're little kids. I'm like, wait a minute, is that such and such? And so a lot of the kids were in those games. And so, but Black is one of the things about Anthony Black that a lot of people don't know. He's somewhat of a late bloomer in a sense. Basketball wasn't his sport. He was a football player. So he started taking basketball serious a little bit later than most, but he's 6'7", has really good positional size, high IQ, can pass. A sneaky athlete. I don't know how to describe his athleticism. Like, he's not like one of those guys that wows you like a Cam Whitmore or the Thompson twins where you just see like that super quick twitch. But Anthony Black is a game dunker. Like, he's getting dunks in games, whether it's tip dunks or finishing at the rim, off drives. Struggles with shooting. I think he shot only 30% from three. I think he's like a primary ball handler connector, if that makes sense. I don't think he's like your engine, but I think he can fill a role because he can pass and he's a really good defender. So I like him. Just the concern is the shooting. And I know, like, I live in Dallas, and I know some Mavs fans want him, but I think that would be like an absolute terrible fit because, with Luka and Kyrie, he's not going to have a lot of opportunities to play with the ball. And then if you stick him in the corner and expect him to knock down open shots, you're not getting the best out of him.
Once again, let me just hit the reset out. Once again, this is the NBA Draft Q&A. Special guest, Rafael Barlowe. So to everybody in the chat, man, hit that like button if you're watching. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel and share this video. Shout out to King Deej for doing that, man. King Deej all over it. He's all over the draft coverage, and share this video out there on Twitter. So definitely do that. If you guys are watching, throw us up on the Instagram story. Tag us on the Instagram story. Let everybody know #1 show for the fans by the fans is live and direct. All right, Al, go ahead.
So for Anthony Black, he's being kind of compared to Lonzo Ball. Is that a fair comparison, or how would you describe what player would be a good? And I know comps really stink when it comes to draft, but would be a good comp for Anthony Black?
On one hand, I see it, but on one hand, I'm thinking, is it a lazy comparison because they're both light skinned and tall, and I think the difference is that Lonzo shot a lot of threes at UCLA and never went to the rack, while Anthony Black goes to the basket. I mean, he averaged, I think, 4 free throw attempts per game, and he can't really shoot, and he's like a reluctant shooter. While, I mean, you can probably go on Synergy and pull up every time Lonzo Ball made a shot inside the paint in his whole career. So I think there's a difference there, but I could see like the comparison as a big playmaker that is a connector.
Okay.
All right. Bryce Sensabaugh, small forward out of Ohio State. What do you think about him?
Really good scorer. Shot over 40% from three. He's a bucket. He's a guy that I predicted that would have a really good pre-draft workout because he's a guy that would just excel in 3-on-3s, 1-on-1s, because he's like 6'6", maybe like 240, strong, can play in the post, mid-post, can knock down open shots, create his own shot. The big concern about him, well, there's two. He's a poor defender, and he had multiple knee surgeries in high school. So I wonder how much that impacts where he's drafted or how the medicals. But he's had a quiet pre-draft process. I haven't heard anybody. I've talked to like different scouts and Like, hey, did your player work out against Bryce? And they're like, no, I haven't. So I don't know what's going on there. I haven't heard anything about him having a promise, but he's just kind of had a quiet pre-draft process. But he can score. He can definitely score. Shot over 40% from three. Probably one of the better scorers in this class.
Shout out to Soul Squad in the chat. Says thoughts on Kobe Brown and his fit with the Knicks. Is it Kobe Brown or Kobe Brown?
Kobe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's a Colby Jones,
right?
COLBY, and then there's Kobe Brown from Missouri.
Got you.
Hey, I think Kobe Brown is really good. A little bit older, so there may be some concerns that he really kind of took off later as opposed to earlier. Wide body, like he's a guy that he may not pass the eye test because he just kind of looks like he's could probably shed a few pounds, but he's a gifted scorer, really good shooter. He can pass, played point guard in high school. And he was one of the better college basketball players this year. I talked to one scout, and he was like, yeah, we like him, but, our coach is probably going to look at him and be like, nah, we don't want him. But I think he's probably going to be in that second round range. He could even be a guy that I could see, and I'm just going off the top of my head, I could see him saying, all right, if I fall past 40, I'd rather not get drafted. I'd rather pick my destination and find a team where I can probably get a two-way and have a better path to playing time. But this may sound crazy. There's some games I watched him, and I'm like, this dude reminds me of, like, older Jamal Mashburn. Just because he's very nimble, and he's got, like, a wide body. So if you put, like, a big on him, he can get by the big. But then when they went small, he was able to post up. Now, he's not Jamal Mashburn, but there were times where he had that type of – he created those type of mismatches due to his, like, size and athleticism and his shooting. But, again, I think he's 22 or 23, and that's definitely going to be held against him.
Got it out.
What about, since we're on second rounders, Emoni Bates?
Emoni is super talented, and I think you just got to be fair when you evaluate Emoni and not evaluate him as the 15-year-old that was on the cover of Sports Illustrated that they were calling the next Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
It was kind of all downhill from there in a sense.
Yeah, seems so.
But
man.
I tried to evaluate him as like Emoni Jones, a kid that I just don't know about. You like the talent and the skill level is there, but the concern is, man, he takes a lot of heat check shots. Like a lot. Like his confidence is off the charts. And it's almost like if he makes his first shot, then you're like, oh man, we're in for a show. He might shoot a step back three from the logo the next possession. And so I think the concern with him is not the talent, not the shooting. I mean, like, if you like really take a deep dive into his numbers, like there was nobody at his size and height that was able to shoot like he did, especially off the dribble. But the question is, like, can he play a reduced role? Like, will he accept if the Knicks trade up in the 40s and draft him? Will he accept the role as a guy that has to earn his way to playing time, and he may go multiple possessions where the ball doesn't touch his hands? Or is he someone that when he gets in limited minutes, he's like Cam Thomas in a sense, to where it's going up. So it'll be interesting where he goes. I think with a lot of the guys going back to school and some of the the players, the international players that decided to stay overseas, I think that may have helped him as far as guaranteeing that he'll be drafted. But again, nobody questions the talent at all. It's just the fit. And he has some off the court stuff, but I just think it's more so of a fit, because even like when he was in high school, he did have a window where he did play with Jalen Duren and Derek Lively for team final. But in high school, one of the knocks on him was he only played with the team that Nike gave him. He didn't play with any other guys. His dad was the coach. So he had total freedom. Then he got to Memphis, and then that situation was a mess. And then he transfers to Eastern Michigan, which is a situation that was totally designed and set up for him. And he put up big numbers, but he was on a bad team. And so it helped people realize how talented and skilled he is, but it also didn't help the people that are concerned, like, can he play with other guys? Can he play with talented guys? And does he want to play in the system?
Okay. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. The NBA Draft Q&A, man. We got our guy Rafael, Barlowe in the building, CP the franchise here, Alex Rotaros on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to shout out our second sponsor of the night, and that is our guys over at Oakley, man. Go out there and check out the latest styles for the summer, man. Oakley.com, and check them out. We want to salute our guys at Oakley, man, for sponsoring the show, man. So make sure you guys tap in and get the latest styles. Now, this one was supposed to go to Alex, but I'm kind of feeling these every time I put them on, man. I'm looking cooler and cooler. It's got a little, like, Macho Man flair to it, you know what I mean? Might go out there and play some baseball, Al, you know what I mean? Al, these
like,
are
I'm never getting those glasses, man.
Yeah, you might
never get.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I might have to just hit my rep up and tell them to send you your own joints. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm feeling
all right,
these.
man. It's all right.
Yeah,
I know you want to go play baseball. You want to go get your your Ken Griffey Jr. swag on.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay.
I got to bring it back out there, man. But nah, man, Oakley's definitely changing the game, and it's time to discover a whole new world of possibilities, man. So whether it's running, golf, basketball, they just signed Dame Lillard to his own sunglasses deal. Oakley's got something for everybody, man. Once again, go to Oakley.com and check them out. They even offer Prism Lens technology. It's a proprietary technology to Oakley and available for everyday settings as well. So if you want to know more, go to Oakley.com and do your own research, man. When you wear Oakley, there's really more than meets the eye. Don't trust me, try it for yourself. I've worn a lot of sunglasses in my time, man. I've been rocking Oakleys for almost a decade now, and they're still on top, man. Quality sunglasses. Once again, go to Oakley.com. Okay. We are here once again, Rafael Barlowe, the NBA Draft Big Board in the building. Let's run through a couple of these guys, a couple of prospects that the Knicks did meet with. How about Khalid Moore out of Fordham? Are you familiar with this guy, Khalid Moore out of Fordham University?
A little familiar, but
yeah,
I think Westchester Knicks.
Yeah. These sound like some like undrafted free agent types, right? Khalid Moore. You have who else? Dane Goodwin. Dane Goodwin played for here? Notre Dame, 6'6" guard out of Notre Dame. Dane Goodwin. Also,
yeah, man. I think at this point there's 3 two-ways that teams can offer, and a lot of these guys are two-way candidates or guys that you want to bring in for summer league, and sometimes they're guys that, you know, if you're bringing in someone to work out with, and you want someone that's competitive, right? So let's say a guy's a good shooter. You may bring in a guy that's, you know, maybe 22 or 23 that, you know, you want to see him shoot against or so on. So teams cast a wide net, or some teams do. Like the Knicks are pretty secretive with their workouts, but I know Boston has. I mean, they're like bringing in a lot of guys, and then I know, like, for example, Milwaukee told me they're just looking for the 61st pick. So they're just looking for just basically guys that are probably not going to get drafted. So, yeah, not everybody that goes through is close to being an NBA prospect.
Yeah.
You saw Kai Soto. I hear he's coming back.
Kai Soto, oh my Lord, the pride of the Philippines, man. Kai Soto was breaking YouTube records for every content creator that made a Kai Soto video. But he did work out for the Knicks again, man. He did work out for the Knicks.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Actually, last year I must have said something sarcastic, and then they did a whole video, and they had, like, I think they had me on the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they aired you out, boy. Yeah, the whole country was on your head, boy. Yeah.
But it was one that didn't realize my sarcasm.
Yeah.
And then he, like, made it positive. Like I said that he was, I think I must have, like, sarcastic on reply. I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely one of the best centers in his class. And then that went viral. And then somebody had explained to him, like,
It's just a
He's
joke,
a hater.
man. Yeah, it's just a joke, man.
Did you guys do like huge numbers on that episode where you talked about him?
I gotta go back and check, but I'm sure, man. There was definitely like a viral buzz there with Kai Soto, man. Kai Soto High was heavy.
Can I ask something real fast?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm looking at the comments. I might have had a pause moment with Grady. And I see a couple of people say the word that.
Yeah.
I had one.
Yes, the chat is very on alert. They are our flagrant 3 police, man. So if you toe the line, man, they will let you know about it. Absolutely. Shout out.
TM is the crew chief.
Yes,
right?
that is. He is a flagrant 3 crew chief, man. So
he is like Tony Brothers, man. He will be there. He'll check the tape, review it, and then he will also save it in the chat.
Absolutely, man. Two more guys, real quick. They did also work out Craig Porter Jr., guard from Wichita State. Any familiarity?
Yeah, I got an interesting stat about him.
Okay.
He's like 6'3", and he's like a rim protector.
What? Wow.
I mean, if you look up the stats, he's like, I think he was the only player in the country to like rank in the top 100 in like blocks and assists or something like that. Like he's a very unique prospect. Like, his timing on blocking shots for a guard is crazy. Like, he fills up the stat sheet. I had a combine that I was over called the NTX Combine. Well, basically for guys that are they have the potential to be two-way guys or Exhibit 10 guys. And Craig came to my it wasn't my combine, but I was like basically the one that was kind of running it as far as like picking the players. He came and again, like a very unique prospect. Like, he rebounds, he gets assists, steals, and blocks. But he's a guard. He's a point guard. Like, think about a point guard, rim protector. That is what Craig Porter is. So he is, honestly, he is a Knicks guy. Like, if there's a guy that I think Tibbs would fall in love with, you'd be like, who's this guy? Why is he so high in our rotation? That is Craig Porter.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's see if he ends up on the undrafted list or they jump maybe in the second round and grab him, man. And they also worked out LSU big man KJ Williams.
He can shoot. Yeah, he's a good shooter. Not much on the inside. Like, his game isn't visually pleasing in a sense, but if there could be a role for him as like a pick and pop guy, because he can definitely shoot the ball. I want to go over the Craig Porter stat.
Yeah, go ahead.
13 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.5 blocks.
Wow.
And 1.5 steals at 6'2".
Guy that can get after it.
A block and a half at 6'2".
That's interesting, man. Hey, if he can play defense, he can play for the Knicks, man. We need him. Jaime Jaquez, UCLA.
Yeah, he's a man.
Is he going to make it at the next level? What do you think?
His game is so unique that, I mean, he's so crafty, and I don't know. Like, I think like every other person is probably trying to figure out, like, does his game translate? Because, I mean, we know he can play. He can hoop. He can put the ball in the basket. But, you know, like, you kind of get boxed in as, are you a primary ball handler, secondary playmaker, 3-and-D wing, vertical lob threat, energy guy? He's just like a guy that you can't put in a box. He's a crafty scorer, gets a lot of points from the mid post, and good footwork, good touch. He's kind of like Drew Timme in a sense. Like, you know they're super productive, but you're trying to figure out what role he plays in the NBA. On one hand, because the NBA is positionless, that could help him out. But on the other hand, you know, a non-creative or traditional coach may be like, I just don't know where to play him. So I like him. I think he could end up going in anywhere between 30 and 40. Some people think he can be a first rounder. And he tested well. I think he had like a 39-inch vertical at the combine. And so, but he's a good athlete, but he's a guy that his game isn't based off of athleticism at all.
Got you. And Ricky Council the Fourth, GB in the chat. Ricky Council the Fourth. What do you think about him?
Phenomenal athlete. This guy dunks backwards in games. Like, if you just type in Ricky Council dunks, you'll see a few plays this year where he like Like, it's literally like part of his game to where instead of like dunking on the guy straight up, he turns his back and uses his body to shield off the defender, and he'll dunk it backwards.
Wow.
Really good athlete, just has a really funky release to his shot, and he struggles shooting off the catch. I was at his pro day, and I give him credit. Like, usually at those pro days, it's like a rehearsed dance. Like, if you're a good athlete, all you're doing is just dunking. If you're a good shooter, you're showing it. And you're usually not trying to show too much or do anything risky when you have hundreds of executives watching. And the biggest knock on Ricky Council is his shooting. And he went out there and he took a lot of jump shots. Now, there were some people that just were like, why is he doing it? Because he didn't shoot the ball great. And some people were just like, I can't believe he went out there knowing that's his biggest weakness and attempted a lot of jumpers. But then there were some people that were like, I give him credit, because most people are not even looking to show anything that they are, basically don't want to do. They're playing it safe at the pro days. And so I think he's a second round pick. I just think, like, for him, the only thing that's stopping him from being a first round pick is that he just struggles shooting off the catch. He's a much better rhythm shooter. You off the dribble, yeah, and it's not necessarily all because he doesn't shoot it efficiently. It's just, the form looks, it's interesting. I should put it like that. And so some people may think it can't be fixed.
Got you. Interesting stuff, man. Well, we're looking forward to this draft, man. 1 week away. The NBA draft, man. June 22nd, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it locked here. We will have a draft show. And we'll see if the Knicks get a pick, man. But we will be having a draft show. We'll touch on the prospects as they get selected. Will there be trades? A lot of trade talk, as Raphael alluded to earlier in this show, man. So the NBA offseason, this one could be a wild one with the amount of names that could potentially be out there, man. Raphael, any content, anything that you have within the next week that you want to notify the fans on?
Yeah, I'll have a new mock draft. I'm gonna work on it tonight, so it may be up tomorrow. I think it'll be up tomorrow. And then I'll have like some draft buzz and rumors. I was talking to a bunch of people on the phone today. It's weird. I didn't plan on being like this insider guy, but I struggle at it because sometimes I hear stuff, it doesn't even cross my mind to like break the news, and then but yeah, so I got some draft intel. I think that's kind of like, there's so much draft content out there right now. So many guys doing good work. I guess in order to really kind of separate myself, I have to like provide some intel, and I have a lot of, friendships that I've made. So I have like another draft buzz article, maybe who's working out with who and some of the trade rumors that I'm hearing. So that should be out. And then I'll be in New York for the draft. So I'm still waiting on my credential. I'm thinking it's gonna happen. I already booked my tickets. So
got to, man.
I might just interview fans outside the Barclays.
Hey.
But I'll be in New York. So
there you go, man. Well, safe travels. Excellent work again, man. Another big year for you, man. And we're looking forward to more work. And hey, if the Knicks end up with a pick, man, well, hopefully you'll have time to come back on and we'll dissect and see how well they did, man.
Yep, for sure. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate the Knicks fan TV buzz and the audience and all that comes with it. So whenever you reach out, I'm definitely going to make it happen.
Absolutely, man. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that was Rafael Barlowe, man. Follow him on Twitter at Barlowe500. And also make sure you guys subscribe to that NBA Big Board newsletter that they have, man. Great stuff. Very informative. Like I said, this is 365 days that he's tapped in on this, man. So we definitely appreciate him. Remember that the show is available in audio podcast format, man. No reason to miss it. You can catch it on all the major podcast platforms. Tap in. Salute to the replay gang if you guys missed this live. And yeah, man, we'll check you guys for the NBA report. We'll check you guys Friday at 12:30. And for next weekly, we'll be back on probably Sunday night, man. So tap in. Al, great show. Raphael, great show. We'll see you guys, man. Peace.